Somos Berenice Flores y Sebastián Aguiluz y este es el podcast Entreprenup de Keep It Up Show, un espacio creado por dos emprendedores en el que buscamos traer gente chingona e increíble que está constantemente cambiando la forma de ver y hacer las cosas. Cada martes, jueves y sábados podrás escuchar un nuevo episodio donde encontrar información clave que te ayude a impulsar tus ideas, tu empresa, pero sobre todo, tus sueños. No importa qué te dediques, keep it up. Bienvenidos al episodio número 55 de The Keep It Up Show. Antes de empezar, si nos estás escuchando por YouTube, ayúdanos con un like, dándole clic a la campanita y suscribiéndote al canal. Y en Spotify, dándonos seguir. Hoy tenemos de invitado a Butch Hartman, caricaturista que durante 20 años ha trabajado en Nickelodeon creando caricaturas tan conocidas como Los Padrinos Mágicos, Danny Phantom y TUSS Poppy. Hablaremos con Butch sobre cómo mantenerte constantemente creativo, cómo es el mundo de la animación desde dentro y las ventajas de encontrar tu pasión desde niño.
Hola, muy buenas tardes y bienvenidos a otro episodio de The Keep It Up Show. Aquí Sebastián Aguiluz, cofundador y CEO de Entreprenup, y estoy aquí con Butch Hartman, creativo con una gran trayectoria en Nickelodeon y creador de algunas de nuestras series favoritas de niño, como Los Padrinos Mágicos, Danny Phantom, entre otras. Por el resto de la entrevista voy a hablar en inglés. Lo siento, chicos, perdonen mi inglés, pero bueno. Hi, Butch. How are you? Really good to have you here.
Well, thank you. Nice to see you, Sebastian. And I'm going to say, I guys, mucho gusto. It's the first time I'm meeting you. So nice to meet you. And I'm going to say gracias to everybody out there. And nice to meet you as well. I know poquito español, so no mucho español.
Okay. How do you say Fairly OddParents in Spanish? You told me.
Oh, I've actually learned this. Fairly OddParents is Los Padrinos Mágicos.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah, and I meet a lot of people from Latin America, and they say they've seen the show, and I'm very pleased and honored, and I'm just so grateful that they like it.
We also only call Danny Phantom because we didn't get too creative there, but it works. So Butch, let's start at the beginning. What's your secret origin? How did you start in this animation world?
My secret origin, well, I was bitten by a radioactive spider, and I can climb walls like Spider-Man, and I can shoot. No, I'm kidding. I'm from the state of Michigan in the U.S. I was born in Michigan, Detroit, Michigan. That's where I was born. And I've been drawing cartoons ever since I was a little kid. I was born in the 1960s, and so there was no internet back then. We just had television. And we couldn't even record television. We just watched it. But I would draw TV shows as quickly as I could. I'd sit and watch TV like the Flintstones, Bugs Bunny. I would watch these shows so much, and I would draw them and try and learn the characters as much as I could. And ever since I was a kid, I wanted to come to California and be work for Walt Disney Animation. And so I worked really hard to become a Disney animator when I was in school in Michigan, and then I came to California. And I've never worked for Disney. I worked everywhere else but Disney. I never have worked there. But I've worked at a bunch of different places. Hanna-Barbera is a place I've worked. And I worked at Marvel Productions. I worked at Amblin Entertainment. And then I ended up working at Nickelodeon for 20 years. And so that's primarily where most of my career was spent.
Okay, perfect. So you mentioned that you wanted to work in Disney, and that's the beginning of your journey. But funnily enough, you worked anywhere except there.
Everywhere. Yeah, I never worked at Disney.
But I think mostly people identify you for your work at Nickelodeon. I believe you've worked there for 20 years or something like that, 20, 30 years. Why Nickelodeon? Why did you find your home?
Actually, I was at Nickelodeon for 20 years. I started working there in 1998, and then I left there in 2018. So I worked there for 20 years. And the reason I was there for so long is because they bought Fairly OddParents as a show. They allowed me to make it there. They paid me to make it. I got to make Fairly OddParents as well as Danny Phantom, my other show, Tough Puppy, and my fourth show, Bunsen is a Beast. I got to make all four of those shows and just have a great time doing it. And, when a company is believing in you and they're allowing you to work at their studio and you get to make your dream projects. Why not stay at the place, And during the course of all those years, I stayed there, worked with some amazing people, had an amazing staff, and just a great crew of artists and writers that helped me. And I just had a really, really great time. Really enjoyed myself.
Did they ever approach you, or did you ever have the idea to make a live action project? Because Nickelodeon is famous for animation, but also for their live action shows. So, did the idea ever occur to you, or were you just so married to animation?
No, I did want to make some live action shows. In fact, we made some live action Fairly OddParents movies. We did three.
With Drake Bell.
We did a what's that? With Drake Bell? Yeah, Drake Bell played Timmy Turner, and we made a movie called Fairly Odd Movie, Grow Up Timmy Turner. That was the first movie, and then that movie was a hit. So we made a second movie, which was Fairly Odd Christmas, and then we made a third movie called Fairly Odd Summer, and then we made three movies entirely, and it was really, really fun to make those three movies. We really had a blast.
And did you ever consider a TV series?
Oh, we definitely considered it. Yeah, if I would have made anything Nickelodeon allowed us to make, but it kind of came down to, at the time, they didn't want to make a live action series. We made three movies. They did really well. And it just came down to, I guess, don't think they wanted to make a TV series out of Fairly OddParents at the time, live action anyway. And so that idea never came to pass, unfortunately.
Perfect.
You mentioned that you were drawing ever since you were a boy, and that you drew many of the cartoons that you watched. But did you have any personal heroes, people that worked in cartoons that you think the people that did these cartoons were the ones that I want to emulate and make?
I had a lot of really great cartoons I loved when I was growing up. I used to love a lot of the Hanna-Barbera cartoons. I loved the Flintstones. Like I said before, I loved Warner Brothers, Bugs Bunny. I loved a lot of Tex Avery cartoons. I loved Tom and Jerry. I really loved a lot of early anime cartoons, very early, like, Speed Racer. I really liked Speed Racer. And I liked, there was a show called Battle of the Planets that I really loved. That was based on Gatchaman anime from Japan. And loved a lot of that stuff. But I really think most of the stuff I really got my greatest inspiration from was Disney. I like the Disney features and things like that. So yeah, there was a lot of inspiration going on back then. A lot of stuff. And I also love comic books too. I love Spider-Man and Batman and things like that.
Did you ever consider being a comic book artist?
I did. I did. I didn't know if I was good enough to be a comic artist at the time. I at least kind of comic art I wanted to do. I could have probably drawn things in my own style. I think I'm a better comic book artist now than I was back then. But I've always drawn superheroes, and I've always drawn, comic book type characters. Danny Phantom is based on comic book characters, and so that's why I loved working on Danny Phantom so much, because I got to do superheroes. In Fairly OddParents, we have the Crimson Chin, we have Crash Nebula. There's all kinds of superhero references in Fairly OddParents. So yeah, I can definitely see a superhero influence with all the stuff I do.
Perfect.
How do you switch? Because as you said, you've made a lot of different series from different genders, and Fairly OddParents is, as you say, very different from Danny Phantom and your other series. But also, how do you, as a creative, keep innovating in different genders? Is it easy? Do you use a different part of your brain for the different processes? How does it work?
Doing different styles of storytelling. Is that what you mean? Oh yeah, that's interesting. Fairly OddParents is more of a high comedy type of a show, where Danny Phantom is kind of adventure with comedy in it. I tend to gravitate more toward comedy stuff, more toward funny things, and I think people respond to that more than just straight up action stuff. Straight up action stuff is great. But for me, just personally, if I'm going to work on something, I want to be able to laugh while I'm doing it too. I want to really have a good time. So not that you can't have a good time working on superhero stuff or serious things, but for me, I really enjoy laughing and writing jokes too. So I like to do that kind of thing.
Perfect. One question.
How does it feel for that little boy that started drawing, that he not only made it as a cartoonist, but also that the characters that he created not only lived as a cartoon, but also became merchandise and went to other formats, just like video games, movies, live actions, etc.?
How does it?
That's a very good question, and that's a great feeling. It's a great feeling to know that anything that I've created at all has entertained anybody. I think it's so exciting, and it's a real blessing. And for me to just be able to see my characters come to life, as merchandise or toys. I was saying to you earlier, we just got this new Danny Phantom Funko Pop, which just came out. It'll be out in exclusively at the New York Comic Con in October of 2020. But I happened to get one early. But it's just so cool. It's so exciting to know that anybody even likes my stuff enough to want to have a toy of it or have a piece of merchandise. So I'm just really grateful.
That's awesome. And
what's the next step for your career now that you've left Nickelodeon? Are you working on any new projects, making more of a freelancer career move? What is the next step for Butch?
Right now, I'm just doing a lot of independent production for YouTube, doing a lot of stuff like that. I am starting a streaming service of my very own. I want to make a massive, big streaming service that shows family-friendly entertainment. That's a big, big goal of mine. And I want to continue producing animation, whether it's for another studio or I really haven't pursued another studio yet. I've thought about it. I've pitched a project or two out there. I've been out there kind of seeing if anybody is open to new projects. Studios are open to them, but with the pandemic shut down, a lot of studios are working a lot differently now. Everybody's kind of pulled back and stopped and slowed down. So the environment right now isn't really conducive to selling new things at the moment. And so I'm just doing my own thing right now and having a great time doing it. So, and I'm looking for talented people to work with. I'm looking for some new animators, and I'm looking for some writers and people that might want to help me do some independent projects. So I'm looking for those people, which I'm really excited about.
I see that you have your own YouTube channel. You use that channel to get a little closer to your fans, where you can do sketches. And I've actually seen a video where you make sketches of a Fairly OddParents Marvel crossover.
And Marvel crossover. You said.
Oh yeah, I just released that video. Yeah.
Yeah, you said that you were a big fan. So,
why YouTube? What do you find in this platform that helps you connect?
YouTube is a lot of fun. I get to interact with my fans a lot more directly that way. I really enjoy meeting new people, with YouTube, I can meet a lot of new fans, but I really get to interact with the people that grew up with my shows. I can talk to them directly. I can have a lot more control. Back when I was at Nickelodeon, I had to make my show, and I'd hope that Nickelodeon would show it on certain days. Hopefully they would make commercials for it. But with YouTube, I can make all my own stuff. I'm completely in control of my own content, my own commercials, my own advertising, what have you. So YouTube is fun because I get to have a lot more control. But YouTube brings a lot more responsibility too, because with YouTube, you have to pay for everything yourself. You have to, edit everything yourself, release everything yourself. It's a very, very big grind. It really is if you want to do it seriously. So I've learned a lot from a lot of great YouTubers, and I still have a long way to go.
Perfect. And also, as you said, the whole responsibility goes back to you, and also the spotlight. So everything you do gets amplified, right?
Yeah. If it goes great, I get the credit, and if it doesn't go great, I get the credit. It's a very big deal. But again, I've got some great people I've been working with, and we're doing a lot of fun stuff. I have another YouTube channel I just started called the Noog Network. It's it's like a cartoon channel with entertainment on it, so I'm doing that as well. And just having a lot of fun learning what works and what works best. And I never look at anything as a failure or a setback. I look at things as like, okay, that was a learning experience. Let's learn from that, move on to the next experience, And plus, when you're trying so many different things in entertainment, you're going to fail sometimes, and sometimes you're going to succeed. My job is to keep trying for as long as I'm on this earth. You know, when I get to the afterlife, when I get to heaven someday and I talk to God, I don't want to have anything left. I'm gonna go like, Lord, I used everything you gave me. I used every single thing you gave me while I was down there. That's what I want to say to God when I finally see him. So, you know, yeah, I'm just trying to do the best I can, do as many things as I possibly can while I'm here.
Perfect. Also, Butch, you mentioned before that due to the pandemic, some studios changed a little bit their policy about integrating and accepting pitches and things like that. And you actually mentioned to me outside the camera that you just wrote a book about that subject. Do you mind if we start talking about that book?
No, not at all. I actually, yeah, thank you very much for asking. I have a book here it's called Mad Hustle. There's the light I want to show you. There it is. So it's called Mad Hustle. And Mad Hustle is kind of a nickname for a term where you've got to have crazy energy, basically. You need to really have a lot of hard work. This is about how to pitch and sell shows in Hollywood. Mad Hustle, how to pitch and sell shows in Hollywood. So if you want to learn how to sell a show in Hollywood, I've got a lot of information jammed into this book for you to learn from. And so I want people to learn from this book. These are some of the ins and outs that I went through, some of the mistakes I made, some of the successes I've had, how I had the successes, what I did to get my projects not only in the door of a studio, but how to get them to say yes and make that into a project. So how do you do that? There's a lot of answers in this book. So hopefully you can get the book. It's called Mad Hustle. You can get it on Amazon.
Perfect. Is it only in English or?
Right now it's only in English. Yes, it is only in English. So I do need to get it translated, and I've got to do an audiobook as well. That's another thing I have to do. So I will do both pretty soon here. So yeah, but I got to get it translated in Espanol for sure.
Perfect.
The book is on Amazon and one can find it. What is your favorite part of the book? What do you think, if you could just recommend one part of the book, what is the particular part you recommend?
There's two parts of the book I really like. I mean, I like the whole book, but I think two parts you really get a lot out of is partnerships, working with other people. How necessary is it, and what do you look for, and what do you have to be careful of when you work with other people? And also getting an agent, and how important is it to get an agent in Hollywood, and to have an agent, to have representation, and how do you get an agent and things like that. So I think those are two topics I think a lot of people don't really hear a lot about, and I think in this book we definitely talk about it, and you can learn from that too.
Did you have any mentor or a father-like figure when you enter that Hollywood world that you say, this person?
Funny you should ask that, because I have a podcast myself called the Mad Hustle Podcast, based on this book. And tomorrow I'm releasing an episode of the book. By the time this airs, it'll probably be already out. But Mad Hustle Podcast, I'm interviewing two of my mentors from Hollywood, Fred Seibert and Albie Hecht. Albie Hecht used to run Nickelodeon. Fred Seibert used to run Hanna-Barbera. And both of these guys were very instrumental in helping me get Fairly OddParents on the air. And so I'll be talking to them at length at that process and what they look for when they're buying a project, and how hard is it to get a studio project made? Is it easy to get a project sold? So I'll be talking to them on my episode of my podcast tomorrow. Again, this might air after that, but it'll be airing tomorrow. The Mad Hustle Podcast.
They can just go back and...
Exactly.
Perfect.
I know this is basically asking about who's your favorite child, but is there a particular cartoon of yours that you're proud of?
Oh wow! You know, I really truly am. You are right. It is like trying to pick your favorite child. I'm truly proud of everything I've done, just because I just love working on everything so much. And when you sell a show, you put your heart and soul into it. You put everything you have into this. We work so hard to get it made, and so each show really is my favorite. But I'd probably say Fairly OddParents, only because I worked on it for so long. I worked on it for 17 years. You know, Danny Phantom I only worked on for 4 years, 4 or 5 years. And, you know, Fairly OddParents I worked on for like 18 years. And so it's just I probably have to say that one, but it's a hard pick. It's hard to pick that one.
I don't know if this is easier, but is there a character that you prefer to draw from your series?
I draw Timmy Turner a lot. I draw Danny Phantom a lot, and I draw Cosmo a lot. I draw those characters a lot. People request those characters, I think, more than anything. I have something here. I got to show you my. Wait, where is it? Where did I put it? For the lockdown, this is my mask that I wear. I wear this mask. Can you see my?
Yeah.
Hold on. There we go. So there's my mask I wear. So it's Danny Phantom.
Yeah.
So I walk around with this mask on. So at least if I have to walk around with a mask, I have something fun to.
For the people that are listening to us in Spotify, Butch had a face mask that had Danny Phantom's face on it.
I'm sorry, I had a face mask on with Danny Phantom. Yeah, exactly.
So Butch, most of our audience are entrepreneurs or will be entrepreneurs. And just like with innovation, creativity is something that really helps them stand apart. But it's usually something that people can just turn on and off. So in your experience, when you have to be creative and you don't feel particularly creative that day, how do you kick in? How do you start the idea factory?
I try and be creative all day long. I try and draw every day. I write every day. I do something creative every single day because you have to. You just really have to. I don't really ever have writer's block. If I always tell people if you're going to write a story, at least write something down so I can fix it. Don't just not write anything. Same with drawing. Draw something so I can at least look at it and fix it. I mean, I try and draw every day. I'm in my 50s. I'm 55 years old, and I draw and write every single day. Like for your video audience, I'm sitting here drawing this, this guy on a horse, this kind of Conan the Barbarian guy. I'm just sitting here drawing stuff. Just all day long, just doodling, sketching, writing, because there might be something that comes out of that, later on down the road. Or I might be doing something on my iPad or writing a script or whatever. But I always believe in staying creative every single day because those are the people that succeed, are the people that do something every single day.
What do you think has helped you stand out in your career as a cartoonist? Is it just talent or is there more to the secret formula?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I certainly am not the best cartoonist who ever lived, and I'm not the best writer who ever lived. But I do think that maybe if there's one special thing I have, I think I'm just dumb enough not to give up. I just don't give up, and I keep going. And you knock me down, I keep going. I'm very determined. I'm a very determined person. I think that really makes a big difference with anybody, especially in entertainment, because there's so much rejection with entertainment. Whether you're an actor, writer, artist, you're always going to have people that don't like your stuff, that do like your stuff, but it's how do you overcome that rejection? Do you take it to heart and get very sad, or do you go, okay, well, I learned, let's move on to go to the next thing? So how do you handle it? Do you go to the next challenge, or do you let it knock you down and weaken you and make you sad, and then you can't get past anything? That's the hard part sometimes for people. So I just encourage everybody not to give up and to always strive and go forward.
One question. If you had to choose between making a Danny Phantom live action movie or creating a new project from scratch, I'm just picking Danny Phantom because the Fairly OddParents was already released, but what will you choose?
Now, what kind of a question is that, Sebastian? That's a very hard question right there. If I could create a brand new show or just do a Danny Phantom live action movie, my gosh, that's a hard choice. Of course, I want to make it. I really can't even choose. Well, that's a hard one. I would love to make a Danny Phantom live action movie, but that's only one movie. If I could do a new series, then I can make more shows and maybe make a live action movie out of that too. That's a hard question. I'm going to call that even. I do both the same. I really can't pick one.
Okay, I'll sweeten the deal. A Danny Phantom trilogy or 5 seasons for a new cartoon?
Ooh, okay. Yeah, we have to come back to that one, Sebastian. I got to come back to that. So all of it's very compelling.
You can tell me off camera if you prefer.
Yeah, okay.
So you mentioned before that you are working on launching a streaming platform for all ages content, and your whole career has been based on all ages content. So why is it so important for you that the whole family experiences the content?
That's a good question. That's a good question too. when I was younger, I used to love watching TV with my family. And I think a lot of families still do watch TV and they watch movies and things. But I know that a lot of families have sort of drifted apart just a little bit because, mom's watching this program, dad watches this, kids watch this. There's a lot of very dark programs out there now, a lot more than there were when I grew up. I'm not saying the world has to be like it was when I grew up at all, but I just want to bring people entertainment that everybody can enjoy at the same time. Because I know I had a very difficult time watching entertainment when I had my two girls. I have two daughters. They're grown up now. But when they were growing up, it was very hard to find programming for all of us to watch together because there was nothing really for kids and adults. I mean, there was, don't get me wrong, but it's like it was just getting harder and harder to find. So I think we need to come up with a platform that can kind of please everybody and give everybody something to watch at the same time. And, hopefully bring the family back together again.
Perfect.
You mentioned before that you enjoy mostly entertainment for the whole family, but that also got me thinking, have you tried or do you enjoy as yourself animation that is aimed towards adults?
Oh yeah, I do enjoy some of that stuff for sure. I mean, there's a lot of cartoons I find that are amusing, that have adult humor that are really good. I myself wouldn't probably go that edgy or make that type of stuff only because I don't think I need to. I think so many other people doing it much better than I could. But my shows like Fairly OddParents, Tough Puppy, Danny Phantom, all my shows sort of can be watched by anybody. And that's kind of where I want to stay. That's sort of my area. I kind of want to stay in that area. And so I think it'd be a lot of fun, making entertainment for everybody is really something that I think the world would really get into. And there's a lot of great programs out there right now. I just want to make a specifically family-focused platform that is, focused on family stuff only.
And just the last question about adult animation. There is a big belief that animation is only for kids and that someone is watching a cartoon is probably just for kids. But as you said, there is a lot of animation towards adults. I don't know if you still have it in USA, but in Mexico we have Adult Swim, which is basically a Cartoon Network for adults. Do you think that even if it isn't something you will be working, it is that even if it isn't something you will work in, it is important that animation loses this stigma about being used for kids and that you can make content for adults and the whole family?
There's a lot of adults. I love animation. I'm an adult. I love animation. You're an adult. You love animation. I don't like when people think, oh, it's animation, it's only for kids. I think that's kind of condescending. And I think, listen, there's some great entertaining stuff out there that's written with genius writing that's animated. Like The Simpsons, for example, has some of the best writing I've ever seen in my life. It's a cartoon. Yes, it's a cartoon, but it ain't necessarily for kids. It's got a lot of adult themes and stuff. So, there's some great stuff out there for adults. And I think you can entertain kids and adults without going to a super dark, place, just shock people. I think you can do it in a very creative way. I think there's a lot of cartoons out there that do it very creatively. I think we can continue that too.
Is there any cartoon that one of your peers from the same era that you say, I admire what this guy or girl is doing, and that you would like to emulate and bring some of that into your job?
Yeah, I really there's a couple. I mean, I really thought Dexter's Laboratory was great. I love that show. I loved SpongeBob SquarePants. I think SpongeBob is great. Again, I love The Simpsons. There's a few cartoons that I think are really, really high level that I thought. Ben 10, great cartoon. And Ben 10. Do you know Ben 10? Have you seen that show? Yeah, Ben 10. And there's all kinds of great aspects to all those shows that I really admire that I think are just great. And so, yeah, I think there's some great cartoons out there right now.
Actually, when my little cousin was young, he asked me if the guy that made Danny Phantom, aka you, actually was the one who made Ben 10 because it had the same colors.
Yeah, Ben 10 and Danny Phantom kind of had the same vibe, exactly.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I came out before Ben 10, and I'm just glad we came out a little bit beforehand. But yeah, Ben 10's a great idea. I wish I'd thought of that idea. It's a good idea for a show.
Perfect.
Do you think it is easier to translate a live action property to a cartoon or to translate a cartoon to the live action version?
Oh, I think it's easier to translate a live action show to a cartoon, because with a cartoon, you can just draw everything. You know, you can take a live actor, make him a cartoon. But when we did the Fairly OddParents movies and made we were taking a cartoon and transferring it into a live action thing, it was a little harder, because on the animated side, I could do as much magic as I wanted. I could just draw Timmy wishes for this, he wishes for this, he wishes for this. We just draw it, no problem. But if I said Timmy wishes for an elephant, we had to go find a real elephant and bring the elephant in, you know, and it's just a lot harder logistically to do that than it is to do, you know, to do live action than it is to do animation. So I think, yeah, taking live into cartoons far easier. Taking a cartoon into live is harder. I meant to say that. That's what I think I meant to say.
I actually think that animation, like you said, has a lot of possibilities, and I think that it is a format that no matter what kind of story you want to tell, you can do on animation. Things that you can probably not do in live action due to the budget, logistics, etc. The perfect example that comes to mind is the Avatar movie, for which I am a big fan of, and all the things that they do on that show. I remember that as a kid, I thought there is no way they can do all that in live action show, and then they do the movie and basically proved me right. So
yeah, that, you know what's funny? I never saw the live action Avatar. I never saw it. I was going to see it, and a lot of people told me not to, and I said, "All right, I guess I won't see it."
Yeah,
But yeah, I though it's very tricky to translate an animated anything into live action. I mean, look how long it took them to make a decent Spider-Man movie. Spider-Man came out in the 60s, and the first real Spider-Man movie came out in the year 2001 or 2002. So it took forever to make a live action, you know, version of that character. It's same with Iron Man, the Avengers. It just took forever to make those movies. So even X-Men. So it took a long time. And so, yeah, it's really hard to translate animated or drawn characters into the real world. It can be done, but it takes a little while.
So, besides being one of the lucky ones that haven't watched the Avatar movie, what else can you tell us? Not only about Butch the cartoonist, but also as Butch the man, as the professional. What is it that people don't know about you that will surprise them?
Oh wow, I know. Well, I'm not a very surprising guy. I've been married for 28 years. I have 2 daughters. I'm a Christian. I'm from Michigan originally. I've been in California for 37 years now, and I've worked my whole career in animation professionally. I've been able to be blessed enough to draw and write cartoons my whole career. No, I think I pretty much explained pretty much who I am through the interview. I mean, there's not much of a mystery, really. I do love doing what I love. I love helping other people. My wife and I have a coaching program called Vision Possible, where we help people achieve their dreams and their goals. We help people reach out to, not reach out, but they can reach out to us and we can teach them how to achieve their dreams and their goals. A lot of people are young. They don't know how to achieve their goals or what the next step is to take. But then there's older people like me who've maybe achieved a little bit, but then lost it, forgot how to do it, got discouraged, and are afraid to get back into it. So we help them get through those types of things and help put people back on track.
I prefer to leave the most juicy question for the end. So,
okay, most juicy question. Here we go.
I just have to ask, are you actually Timmy Turner? Did you actually wish as a kid to be a cartoonist and your wishes came true?
Well, I wish I could say that. But if I was Timmy Turner, a lot of things would turn out way differently, let me tell you. No, I'm not secretly Timmy Turner. I wish I was, though. That'd be fun, man. You could wish whatever you wanted, but it would always kind of go wrong because Cosmo wanted to kind of mess up a lot. So we have to be very careful what we wish for sure.
So, Butch, every single person that I interview for this program, we ask him or her this question. 3 do's and 3 don'ts for entrepreneurs.
Okay.
So basically 3 things that you should do or try to do and 3 things you should try to stay away from. So which are your 3 do's and 3 don'ts?
What are my do's and don'ts? 3 do's. Okay, 3 do's are write every day, draw every day, and practice every day, and stay focused every day. That's 4. Don'ts are don't be lazy, don't be a victim, don't think people are out to attack you, and don't take everything personally, and don't give up. Don't give up. I mean, it's so easy to fall into any of those 3. It's easy to give up, it's easy to blame others, and it's easy to want to quit. But I encourage you not to do any of those things, because you know what? Life is full of people who quit. It's unfortunate that they do. I don't know what makes them quit. I'm sure there's a lot of discouraging things out there in the world. I know there are, especially today. A lot of things are discouraging. But if you just stick with it, and if you work really hard, and if you just believe in yourself, I know that's such a cliche thing to say, but if you really believe in what you're doing and love what you're doing, you're going to do it no matter what. So I just encourage you to keep going. Okay? That's my encouragement to you.
Perfect.
But if anyone wanted, outside of turning the TV on to watch your cartoons, if they wanted to learn more about what you do, your different projects, both in animation and outside, where can they find more about it?
You can find me on YouTube, on the Butch Hartman YouTube channel. You can find me on Instagram at Butch Hartman. I'm on Twitter as Real Hartman, and I'm on Facebook. You can find me anywhere, and just kind of find out. Go to those places, and I'm pretty much everywhere on social media, so you can find me there.
Perfect.
So Butch, I want to thank you a lot for your time, and I wish that you enjoyed it as much as us.
I did, my friend, and thank you so much. I'll learn more Spanish next time, okay?
Perfect. And as we say in the program, keep it up.
Okay, my brother. Nice to meet you, Sebastian. Thanks to everybody, and have a wonderful, wonderful week.
You too. Thanks.
Si te gustó el episodio de hoy, recuerda que puedes escucharnos en Spotify y YouTube, y para más herramientas de estos temas, estamos en Instagram y Facebook como @Entreprenup. Si quieres seguir a nuestro invitado de hoy, te dejamos en la caja de descripción sus redes sociales y datos de contacto. Gracias por escucharnos y nos vemos en el próximo episodio. Recuerda, keep it up.